Hello everybody, I'm Ina Lombard from MotoGirl. I want to talk to you today about PPE regulation. For those of you who don't know, PPE regulation stands for the European Personal Protective Equipment Regulation. Motorcycle clothing will now form part of this regulation. So what does this all mean for motorcycle clothing? The regulation requires that any company or manufacturer that sells personal equipment that provide protection from injury needs to comply to this new standard. It will need to have a CE label permanently attached onto the garment with the standard of which it has been tested, as well as the result that it achieved during these tests. So speaking of testing, so how will the clothing be tested? So each garment will be tested based on the testing zones. So there will be different zones on each garment, on the jacket and the trousers, divided into zone 1, zone 2, and zone 3. Zone 1 obviously being your high impact areas. So that can be your elbows, the shoulders, it's also the knees and the hip area, which is your zone 1 areas. When you send your garment for testing, it would be tested based on the seam strength, it will be tested on the abrasion, and it will be tested also on the tear strength. Now, after this has been tested, your garment will have a AAA rating or a AA rating or an A rating, etc. AAA rating is obviously the highest rating that you can achieve. So to achieve the AAA rating, you should have at least 4 seconds in your zone 1 area, which is your hip area and your knee area. You need around 2 seconds in your zone 2, and then at least a second in the less impact areas, the zone 3. So how will the customers actually benefit from this new regulation? Well, as a start, you get a guide. So depending on your riding, you need to select your protective clothing. If you are going on track, you want to have a AAA rate. If you go touring, you can use a AA rating. And if you're an urban rider, you will select an A rating. It also takes the guesswork out of how much protection does this jacket give me, or the MotoGirl leggings gives me. Because now for the first time, it's not what the manufacturer tells you, it's actually from a third party who has tested your garment in a lab and has certified that product based on a rating. So when will this new regulation be in place? Well, it keeps on changing a bit. I first heard April 2018, it's now April 2019. Where most of the clothing will need to be tested, which is sold within the UK and the EU. So where's MotoGirl at the moment with the testing? We'll be working with Sartre to help us prepare for testing, and we actually hope that Sartre will allow us to take you with us on the journey and see what we go through, how we test the clothing, or how the lab is testing the clothing, to make sure that you have peace of mind when buying clothes from MotoGirl. The thing that is most important when looking at clothing in the future, I would say, is that buy your clothing according to your riding. The correct protection can literally be the difference between life and death. Thank you very much for listening. We will be making quite a few different videos about safety, whether it's helmets, whether it is gloves, what to look for when you buy protection, what type of different CE markings you need to look at. Thank you very much.